What's up, guys? Welcome back to Wrenching Wrecked. We are back in the garage. Last video, short little bit, updates on some Christmas cards that I got with the package of stuff. Thank you, Gary, Siberian Cycles. Check them out. Messing with the Evo. So I'm trying to set this up as a mile muncher, which means I want it to be comfortable. Even with the backrest. Dottie and I both have back problems. I fight through it. She's not as good at that as I am. But we got the same size sissy bar on the Super Glide with a very skinny, actually. You have a second one over here. This seat, that seat, exactly the same. That one's not ripped. This one is not ripped, so this is kind of the backup whenever I get around to it. I'm not nice to my motorcycles at all. They get used, they get ridden, they get ridiculous things strapped to them, and they break and bust things all the time. It is what it is. That's what they're there for. Not showpieces or time capsules. They are for using. Anyways, we got the Evo torn down. This is what we got going. I think she actually wants a little bit... She's taller than me, so... This is not that tall of a backrest for somebody that's taller than me sitting cupcake up on the seat. So, if I can get a really long one, I know they make them, but a longer, taller sissy bar, we might double up the backrest section of this. I'm keeping the fat, ugly seat. It's not my favorite aesthetically, but it is very comfortable. And it's an Evo. This is the newest bike we own. This is the smoothest running bike we own. Even these run well. I have no complaints, but 4-speed, old technology, aluminum cylinders, lighter motor, 5-speed. This one is set up much better for just jumping on and going, which is the whole point of all of this. So, on the risers, we got the back end dialed for now. We might switch some things up down the road, but I just need to get this done so we can rip it around and figure out exactly how we want to build this. It's got forwards. They're not my favorite. If it was me, I want mids with highway pegs, but same thing on the bars. The bars that were on this were terrible. So I got 6-inch risers, and now I'm kind of playing that game of what do I want to do to make this comfortable for me, still being 6 foot something tall, and still aggressive enough, like not just comfort, but aggressive enough to 1200 sporty with a 5-speed. Something that I can rip around. So ideally, my old 73 iron head chopper, I probably had, I think there were 10 to 12 inch, somewhere in between there, T-bars, but they dipped down and they curled back. All stainless that I made from scratch. That was hands down my most comfortable bike I've ever built. The Super Glide's not too bad either with the narrowed apes, but that's kind of what I'm going for, but it's got forwards, so I need to find something. I got these mild buckhorn pullbacks. I like them when they're a little bit farther in for long haul stuff, but you lose leverage for turning and twisties the tighter you go on a pullback bar. T-bars, you're reaching, it's not as comfortable for the long haul. So I need something in between that. We got 6-inch risers that I think I'm going to bolt up to this and then just kind of demo a bunch of bars. I tried putting just these on there. I'm too tall for this. If this drops into the riser, which would sit somewhere flush right about there, I dwarf this thing. It's just kind of your putz around cruiser stock bike. Not the worst thing in the world, but I don't want to put a lot of miles on like this. If we come up a little bit, 6 inches fine. The only problem is if I do a straight riser, the higher up I go, the farther back I go, and it's, I don't know. If we're doing any sort of chopper trip and I'm ripping around solo, I'm not taking this, so I don't need that big backrest. Lean back and, feet up, having a good time, just resting the throttle and ripping like we did when we took the Super Glide to Tennessee last year. This is going to be our, within 2-3 hours, jump on and go and not think about anything bike. Also have the Super Glide for longer hauls, but it's a 4-speed. She doesn't complain about the vibrations. It's the and if you're one of probably the 2 or 3 women that follow this channel that ride around on a bunch of these old bikes, She doesn't complain about the vibrations in her butt. It's the vibrations in the back, which is mostly probably attributed to everything being fixed and the sissy bar doing a little bit of shake. She says it makes her back itchy. Same thing on the chopper. She would love the chopper seat if that seat went all the way up to the top, but I wasn't really keeping her in mind on a hand shift shovel head chopper. So it is what it is. This is how I appease all of the past decisions. We've been dating throughout the duration of all of these bikes, minus the Super Glide, but trying to make it work. So let me throw the risers on this. I'm going to throw you guys in the corner. We're just going to time lapse it. I'm going to throw the risers on, and then we can combo and experiment with a bunch of different bars. They're 6-inch, nothing fancy. Had to run to the store today, early this morning before work. Grab some grade 8 half-inch hardware. Let's throw these things on. Just got back from the store. Had to run out. Hey, more beverages. Heated grips need to come off. So we got 4 wires in here. I don't know what or where or how this all ties into the harness. I'm going to disconnect that up front for now, just to make a little bit of room. And then I want to break off all these zip ties. This is not my favorite bar setup, but for what we're doing, this will work just fine. I do like the rise. I'm 6 foot, just over, just under, somewhere in between there. I don't even remember anymore. But this is a nice, comfortable riding position. I think 1 more inch up on that. We move the triple trees back up as well. This is a pretty good riding position. It's not as aggressive. Honestly, I kind of wanted something about here on a Sporty with forwards. Something where it's kind of that way. I might be going back to mids on this if I can find a complete set, but I also don't want to have to open up the motor or change anything. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But this works. The issue I will have if I do want to run a higher rise bar and everything else is going to be these gauges. I don't know how much room there is to cheat wiring. I really don't want to have to rewire everything. It's not that big of a deal if I do. But this tack is broken. The speedo does work, but the tack is all sorts of backwards in terms of the way that's supposed to be assembled. And it is a mechanical tack to the front wheel. So 92 still has your standard mechanical cable drive. I don't know what we're going to do with that yet. That's going to be another decision for another day. But if I can get the housings and the grips and stuff set up on here, I think that'll be all right. We'll see. We're going for comfort and cruiser. I don't want to strip it all the way down. If it was me completely, I would probably rip every wire off of this and rewire it, chopper wiring, where we have running headlight, taillight, and starter with none of the extras. And then I can ditch some of the bigger switch housings and turn signals that I'm not putting back on the rear. It's not that hard. I have a bunch of extras at the shop for the rear turn signal. I don't like turn signals on bikes, even bikes with them. I don't use them. I never use them. I don't know how to use them, or I do try and use them and then I forget about it and it's just flashing the whole time. It's annoying. So I'm gonna full speed ahead, try and get the housings and the throttle and the clutch bracket and all of that set up on these bars. Gauges and wiring for this we can figure out later, or we can just disconnect everything and throw it in a box and put it in the if we sell the bike box. So we'll go from there. Back to time lapse, because I don't want to explain anything. It's Sportster stuff, dime a dozen. Google it, you'll find all of the info you need. Just kidding. I don't know if this is going to work, and I don't want to mess with a bunch of the wires, but I think if I pull this common ground on the triple tree, we might actually have enough room to stretch these up. It's probably not going to be the most aesthetically pleasing thing in the world, but now, looking at this, I'm genuinely curious. So, we will grab our little, what's that, 5/16? I'm guessing. Let's see if there's enough room to cheat this, because if I can get this gauge to sit up on the triple tree up top, Jesus, why are there so many grounds? Alright, I'm going to grab the star washer. I'll disconnect most of this. And I have enough room to get up here. That's not an issue. And then same thing with the headlight. Yeah, I think we might be okay. You know, I got these controls and bar things run down and through. We're looped around on the brake side. Let's do the hard mechanicals first. Come on, you're so close. This is what happens when you want to do fun custom stuff, right? So close. Okay. Let's do it the hard way. We'll separate the controls and then clamp them back on. I don't have enough room to get it out far enough to sweep around the bars, which is expected, but we should have plenty of room in terms of trying to get this back installed. So there's that. This should somehow bolt on here. Lost a bolt. We're going for a rough right now. There's a bunch of... Sorry, I got a bolt in my mouth. There are a ton of things on here. Sorry, I'm in the middle of trying to talk and explain at the same time. It's not a good combo. I just want to get this started up here. I know it's a little tight. You definitely don't want to run your brake cables this tight. But there is one clamp right here. If I loosen that clamp, I will have plenty of room, 100% guaranteed, to make this bar configuration work. Oh, it's totally actually bolted. Who does that? I just want this kind of on and resting up here, even if it's not full install yet. Let's see if I can pinch it on the corner of the bars. Just want a couple threads to grab, so I know what I need to fix. Alright. There we go. Especially in these mock-up stages when you know you're going to be changing a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to tighten these down all the way, but I'm trying to keep all the hardware together because I got baggies on baggies on baggies of parts right now. And I don't really want that. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. which means if we can get this kind of together like that. I know it's really tight on this hard brake line. It's a hard brake line up top down to a little flexi fitting. But in terms of wiring, which is the bigger concern that I have, the wire should be just fine on this. We'll pull the grip through. There's wires on there we need to get rid of as well. Same thing here. This will, if I pull it back, we get a little more slack. But you don't want to have parts that are that tight, with or without the bars turned. If it gets that tight when the bars do turn around, fix it. You don't want throttles hanging up. You don't want all of the other issues that I will most like. Oh, the paint. The broken, busted paint. We'll just kind of lay this roughly up here, like so. The bars are going to go somewhere like this. We're not too far off though. This will definitely still fit in the grander scheme. I will 100% have to kind of separate this, and I might have to straighten out the hard line that's down here a little bit. Let's pull this grip through. Let's get rid of the heated grips. That's one good place to start. So we got a couple more cutters on the cables here. All sorts of zip ties. Separate these. I got one off. We got two off. And maybe I'll just leave the wiring harness as is, because one, it's easier. Two, what if I do want heated grips to ride in the winter that I don't do anymore? Oh well. There's that half. And we'll fish these up. Ooh, come on, clutch cable. Really? Alright. So as of right now, the clutch cable 100% will not fit up onto the bars where I want it. But we are running this through the triple tree. Can you get longer cables? Yes. Do you need to pull the clutch primary cover off to do that? Yes. So we're going to separate the clutch cable and drop this through, because this is not a custom clean, everything needs to be routed perfect chopper. Instead of running the clutch cable up through the triple tree, we're just going to run it out this way, and that will give me plenty of room to get to here on the bars. If we end up running these either way, that'll give me a lot more room without having to do all of the other work. So I'm good with that. Separate the zip ties here, and then basically we'll run the speedo drive up. But clutch cable aside, this will bolt right back here. We still got to worry about the grounds. But this will bolt right back onto the triple tree like it's supposed to. And the gauge cluster, we had enough room, should, in theory, be able to line right back up here. I know this is the down and dirty and crude method, and most people that go this far and put risers and gap this out would rip all of this off. I have no problem with taking the gauges off, taking the cluster off, but it's also, they're there. I don't mind running them. So this will sit here 100%, no issues on the headlight. Maybe it gets a little tight, but a lot of this is, like this clutch cable's pulling down on the speedo cable with the zip tie that's right here on the inside of the triple trees. I don't know. Can you guys see that? Could you clean it up 1,000,000 times? Yes, 100%. But I'm not opposed to that little setup. It's not the cleanest thing in the world. There's 1,000,000 wires in between here that you don't actually need. But I don't want to rip it all apart either. So this is where I kind of run the gamut. I want it easy to work on, accessible, everything to work and function, but I don't care. I don't trust speedos and tacks. I got them working on the Bagger and the Super Glide. Don't have anything on the chopper. Never had issues. Frankenstein's the same way. I don't know. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty component, so I think this might actually be where we're going to wrap this one up for the night while I kind of mull this one over. We got all of the grounds disconnected underneath here. I did not put the ground, the one that mounts on the bottom of the riser. Didn't put that back on either, so we're gonna have to chase down a ton of grounds on this front end before this gets final assembled. But right now when I'm sitting here looking at, I don't exactly know what I'm looking for, trying to figure out risers and bars and seat position and riding position and all that other stuff, it doesn't make sense to dive into the wiring component until we're done. And then in the last video on this, when we put the fender back on, I know we were having some problems on the taillight. I don't know if it was just the brake light that was coming on and we didn't have a taillight or vice versa. That was 2 days ago, I should know that better, but same thing on the electrical issues. I didn't bolt the seat down. I put it back on here to make sure that it does line up onto the seat tab, which we are golden in that regard. But it's 2 leads. The taillight's grounded on the frame slash fender as is. If I need to tap in, there is a black wire in this taillight. I will tap that into that frame ground on the seat post. Just cut the end off, put a ring terminal and ground that one, make sure that's good. And then we can figure out the logistics. But I didn't want to dive into trying to fix the brake slash taillight assembly, whichever one was working, wasn't working. I couldn't get the brake light to light up, but I'm not going to sweat it because we have a million grounds disconnected up front. I don't know if the bike needs to be running for the brake light itself to work on the switches. I don't know where they get their feed from signal-wise, and I'm having a hard time finding the wiring harness for a 92. So if anybody's got a lead on a wiring harness, let me know. But we're going to wrap this one up there. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll have this done in the next week or so. It's really nice out tonight. We're doing a little fire thing. And then it's going to be crappy and cold for the rest of the week. So we got plenty of time to get back out here and finish this. We'll catch you guys on the next one.